Welcome to Foundation Repair Success Secrets, the podcast that's rocking the foundation repair industry. Discover how to boost your leads, raise your profits, and lift your digital presence. Together, let's dig deep and transform your foundation repair business.
Alrighty, we have an awesome guest. This is our unofficial part two. Our first episode we had with the Willie King was not released to you guys, unfortunately. It was awesome. He was cursing the whole time. No, we had some audio issues, so this is our version 2, but our official released version 1. So Willie, super pumped to have you on the podcast.
My pleasure.
So where are you at today, and kind of what's the behind the scenes of the business?
Oh wow! Today I'm in Tyler, Texas, doing a modification of a basement where I'm expanding the system that was in there. Because we had torrential rains yesterday, and they saw water coming in from a different side that they just swore that it's not possible. Unfortunately for me, I foreseen it. I tell people all the time, they don't believe me. Water moves. So just because you see water on one wall doesn't mean that that is the only place. The water is going to just travel all the way down the wall until they hit a corner, and then it may change. So, the customer is always right until they're not. So my answer is pretty simple. I'll always come back, not a problem. So they called me yesterday afternoon, and if there's a problem with any areas that I have done, it's not something we put off. So I surprised them by showing up this morning at 7:00 in the morning, and they were blown away. It's because, it's my job. And I'll tell people, even if it was not something that's my fault or something that I warned you about, I'm still not going to leave them hanging. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
I'm back in Tyler, Texas.
Well, and it's such a big part of what you do. I know from our first time we talked is quality really seemed to ring true. Your background with your family, your background with your athletic abilities. We could touch on that again, to some extent in this episode, but you guys really, really care.
Oh yeah. It's one thing to say you the best, and then you ask them why, and they don't have an answer. The best is a company that goes above and beyond, further than anyone else. And they provide the service that you would be expecting from someone else. So if you're asking somebody to give you an estimate, you don't want them to give you the estimate that they think that you would accept looking at the size of their house. You would want them to give you the estimate that's going to solve your problem. And you don't sugarcoat it. You give it to them. You give it to them exactly the way it is. Let them filter out what they would like to do and what they wouldn't. But to not give them options of things that that you should have given them an option because you're going to make a little bit more. That's come on. That type of business, these companies are going to come and go. I've been in business for over 30 years. You don't play those kind of games if you expect to be in business another 10 or another 15 years, or someone else inherits your company from our family. Like it is. Ours is called the Basement Kings because there will be a king on this company one way or another and running this company long after I'm gone. And they're going to follow the same principles that I created and learn from my father, who's now not here. But, you learn how to do it right the first time, and you stick with what you say you're going to do. And if there's a problem, you have to remember you are the professional. I can't stand hearing those stories where somebody says it's going to cost X, Y, Z, and then they open up a floor and then they say, "Oh wow, I didn't know that," and then the price changed. Then they say, "Oh, I got to go over to that corner," and the price change again. You, the professional, you should have given them those options when you gave them their estimate. If it does this, it's going to cost you that. And if it does that, it's going to cost. And then let them decide what they're going to do. And people tell me it's unique. I don't really think it's unique. I just think it's the way it should be done.
What do you think the difference is between the salesperson route versus the way that you treat the business?
Oh, well, The salesperson route is everything. Nothing matters but the sale.
Okay.
And to me, it will make you grow very, very quickly, but it will ruin you. There's a company that's similar in name to mine, but they're in another state, further back east. And I saw that company online 10 years ago. And I saw them online last month. Negative, 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 negative reviews. All of a sudden.
Wow.
What do you think changed? Chances are they started hiring professional salespeople. Now I'm sure the company's making a profit, but the company's credibility is going in the dumpster. So
Mm,
everything can't be about the bottom line. I know people say it is, but if you're a family business and you're not in business so you can hurry up and sell the company, but it's a company that has your name on it and something you're going to stand behind it for the next 20, 30 years, you're not going to play those kind of games with your customers. So in
mm,
that case, it's it's not it's not sales. What it is, it's customer support generated. 30% of my business is from word of mouth. And I'll tell you, people told me you can't survive on just word of mouth. I have. I'll tell you, 70% of the time I get a phone call, somebody says, such and such referred me to you, and I need you to look at such and such. I say, oh, well, I'm liable to charge you to come out and take a look at it. It's so far away. They go, okay. I give them a general estimate. They say, wow, you're much higher than the last two companies that we looked at. And then they gave me the job. Now, now
wow.
that's not supposed to work out that way, but it does. There was something that they heard from those other two companies that wasn't right. That when you were talking to them, you may have given them three options when they only gave them one. They may have lied to them and told them that maybe they don't need a sump because they don't want to have to put one in, and you told them they're definitely going to need one, and you just giving it to them straight, and all of a sudden they look at you and they say you may be much higher than anyone else, but you know what? Reading your reviews and you being honest with me now, that I value that. And then they write a review knowing that your reviews were real. And after, when people understand that your reviews are real, they start understanding that they could hire somebody cheaper and do it multiple times, or they can hire you, get it done right the first time. And if there was a
Mm.
problem, they know that when they call you 10 o'clock at night, you're going to answer the phone and maybe show up there at 8 o'clock in the morning, like I just did, or 7 o'clock in the morning, like I just did today. It was one phone call and it was almost 10 o'clock at night.
Wow. Amazing.
So, yeah, people tell me you can't do that. Everybody can't do that. Well, fortunately, I only own one company. And I don't
Mm,
have to make everybody do it. This company's going to do it. And we serve all of Texas. And I'm not going to let anyone down. I don't care if it's 30 minutes from my office or 10 hours from my office. The job is going to be done right the first time.
amazing. Do you guys ever fly out to some locations, or always driving out?
Yes. Nope. Well, we train in Providence, Rhode Island every year. But
Okay.
I fly all over the United States, diagnosing the problem with the basement. It's amazing. I just I just got back from Chicago. I was in Kansas City a little over 2.5 weeks ago. I was in
Mm,
I was outside New England about 5 months ago on a referral from one of my competitors that's down here for one of his relatives. Uh, and all I do then a lot of times is I go there and I diagnose it, tell them what's wrong, tell them why it hasn't been able to be fixed, and then tell them the methods that'll do it. And I'd say 80% of the time I'm back on the flight coming back home. 20% of the time I put together a crew and do the job while I'm there.
okay. Wild.
So
Wild, wild.
uh,
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
yeah, I do. I look for some of those jobs that nobody wants, and I'm known for it. I don't care if it. I did one that was built like an underground tunnel, and the thing had so much water you couldn't see the bottom of it. at the bottom of the ladder because it was hidden. We have a lot of preppers in some areas that know me very well, and they like building their shelters where no one else would know it's there or it's hidden in some way, and it's very, very unique. The problem with that uniqueness is if it has a problem, who's going to fix it? So,
Right,
uh,
right.
you know, and I'm one of these weird people that if it's weird enough, oh man, I'll fly to India and help them. If it's that
Mm,
hard, it's going to make my day. Yeah, you know, that's where I look for. I'm looking for a challenge. So if they're wondering how in the world something's going to be done and nobody else has been able to fix it, they should give me a call because I have never ran to a basement that I could not fix and I could not figure out.
wow.
And it's just my methodology is different. I start off with how I think it was built. Once I know the history of how it was built, then the repair method that I'm going to use, it just falls in place. So if if you know that that basement has a footer, then you already know what you can expect to see. If it doesn't have a footer,
Mm,
then you already know what to expect to see. And if it's built with a liner or if it's built with damp proofing, all these answers they just jump out at you. But we have a lot of people that's in this business that they've been hired to do a job. They know that they're not familiar with the job, and then they get on the internet and look and see if there's a fix for that job. And see, there's a lot of things on that you're never going to see online. Half of my methods aren't even online. So just because you saw
mm,
something, you said, "Oh wow, that's how we fixed it." Yeah, that might be the way that I fixed it 20 years ago. Today we use self-healing concrete. I didn't know about self-healing concrete 21 years ago. I knew about it 20 years ago, but I
right.
didn't know about 21 years ago. So when my customers are still using damp proof and it looks like tar, or they ran out to the store and they bought that dry lock, it's, you know, those methods, they're 20 years old for us. And we already know what's wrong with each one of those methods. So when I see them, I already know that that material is going to be bubbling up. I already know what that system is going to look like. So I don't know. If you know what you're doing, it's not hard work. You get to that job and you blast through it 2 to 3 times faster than anyone else because you already know exactly what to expect. And you go to work. My jackhammer was going off 20 minutes after I drove up in the driveway.
That's amazing.
You know, so that's. Let me see. How would my nephew say? That's how I roll.
That is awesome. Yeah, the experience, the wisdom, the confidence. Um, do you think that other companies would look at you guys and say, all right, Willie, he knows it all, but we want to scale, we want to grow. What is the issue with the scaling, the growing, pump it versus how you're doing it, which is still very strong, but it's like smarter. I don't want to say slow and steady, but almost to some extent, like you're just doing it right. What would you advise the companies who are either let's scale and grow crazy, let's go quick, or they're debating going that route compared to going it the way you're doing?
Well, we have a term for it here. It's called tempered growth. I don't want massive growth. I want tempered growth. If I can continue doing business in the way that I do business and my methods the way I do them, then I'll grow as fast as I can. But if I have to sacrifice my warranty, if I have to sacrifice my method, or if I have to sacrifice my word or my salesperson's word, then it's not an avenue which I want to go. I want to go with. When you go into business, you need to sit down and think. I've had 4 or 5 businesses, and
Hmm.
what you do is you start off with what do you want to do and what do you expect out of that business? If you think that all you want to do is be in business for 5 years so you can hurry up and sell it, then honestly, most of these people, they're not going to care what they say and what they do because they're going to always think this nightmare is going to be somebody else. But if that
Mm.
person is think on longevity. They want to be in business 10, 20, 30 years or pass it on. Then their word better mean something, you know, because they're going to be referring you I've had customers refer me 10, 15 years later. We still service
Oh my
the
gosh.
company, our customers for the last, we've been in business for 30 years. We learned how to service from Great Drain Products, and we started going back and calling on previous customers so we could do service for them. And every one of them took us back and said, yes, we would love you to do service for us. Well, see, that means you must have done something right. That when you called them and you said, I'm offering service, would you like us to come in? They said, if you think we need it, we need it. And 95% of the people that are still owning that house called and signed up. You tell me,
That's
that's
wild.
the method.
Huh. Okay. No, this is good. What about any other intel you would want to reach out to the community? Waterproofing, foundation repair, maybe 3 grains or nuggets of gold that you would want to kind of distribute to the community.
Don't be so in a rush to take the lowest price. A lot of times, the lowest price is for a reason. And the reason a lot of times is because they lowball everybody. And they already have a method that they know that they'll come in as the lowest. Once the floor is open, once the sheetrock is off the wall and there's a large mess on the floor, they honestly feel that you're just going to take and accept everything that they say and they do, and the price just keeps going up. I know that's real because I get calls where somebody asked me that they were willing to pay for my consult. And I go out there and the job is half finished or quarter finished. And they're looking to replace the company. I have never started a job and didn't finish a job in 30 years. So I have to ask
Mm,
myself, what in the world had to happen to that company that they calling me in the middle of the job and they already know that I'm hired? I am not the Hyundai of basements. I'm just not.
mm,
You know, I'm the company that's going to fix their problem, and I, I'm gonna give it to them straight. Now they may think I'm a little hot. Okay, and one person looked at me and he said, this looks a little hot. And I went, looking at your problem, you're right, it is. you know, I, I can't lie. You know, your walls may have to be taken down. They've waited so long that that the the nightmare had progressed to an issue that they may be rebuilding the wall that had they called you 4, 5, 10 years earlier, they wouldn't have had that problem. But they tell you,
mm.
nobody told me what you told me. Well, so the next thing I would tell them is read their reviews. Don't if a company only has 3 or 4 reviews, just be aware it's very easy for a company to treat 4 customers nice and then dump on the other 35 customers and don't do what they're supposed to do. Read their reviews, and pick up the phone, call the person. Just don't take their word for it. Call them. I do a weird thing. I tell them, I say, if you want reviews, um, you tell me how many reviews you want. Let me know how you want me to break them up. Do you want it from a job that I did 10 days ago? Do you want one from last
Mm,
month? Do you want one from 5 years ago, 10 years ago? You tell me how you want it broken up, and that is how we're going to send you the review for the customers for my references. And they went, you
mm.
have that many? 24/7, I have reviews and I have my customers. All they need to do is tell me how many. I will load them up and then I will give them their name, address, and telephone number because every one of my customers know that I may call them in the future because I'm going to tell them that I may call them. And that is the reason I'm working so hard on that job. I work for my reviews. And if you do
Mm.
that, you're going to work hard.
I think that's genius. I actually had someone the other day ask me for a reference, and I was like, There's so many references. Like,
You see?
have you seen our website? Have you seen the video testimonials? Have you seen the case studies? Like, you still need a reference. Okay.
See?
I don't
They
know
may
if it's
see
going
them.
to be a fit.
Yeah, they may see them on your website, but when they're asking you because a lot of people don't want to believe what they read, so that's fine,
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
And a lot of times, what they're asking you for is something that is not on your website. They want
Mm,
something current. They want something to them. They want something real. And I'll say, well, I finished a job 3 days ago. Here, would you like their name and number? Why don't you give them a call? And,
that's
and
cool.
and that's how I'll do it. You tell me how many you want, and you tell me how far back you want it. And that is something that they realize that you are not cherry picking
Mm,
because they're going to call them. And I tell them, do your due diligence. Do not hire me unless you have done your homework because you are not going to know what is done and how it's done and what the difference is from us unless you check. I want them to check. There is nothing hidden here. This is not the Wizard of Oz. There's nothing hidden behind this curtain,
right.
you know?
That is awesome. I enjoy that. Do you have any ideas on things you wish you knew? Obviously, you've been in the business for, decades. Are there a few
Yeah.
things that you wish you knew when you started that you now know now that you hold so closely to you that maybe our audience can go, oh yeah, that I should keep that in focus when I'm running my business.
Oh, yeah. Do not have a basement in Texas without a dehumidifier.
Okay.
A large number of the basements that I walk in, they open the door and I can smell the moisture. They live there, so they don't notice it. But the moisture, it's called a healthy basement. And they need to understand that a lot of people aren't history buffs. I am. And I was raised in New England, so I know the history of New England. You know, when you go back to the 1900s, there was a thing in New England that was killing people and nobody knew what it was. They called it consumption. People didn't know what it was. That meant, it's kind of like cancer, but nobody knew what it was and there was no name for it. And it
Mm,
turned out that it was from the moisture from their basements and their crawl spaces. The moisture in the basement was killing them and they didn't know it. And in states like Texas, where there are basements, most people don't think there are any, and there's a lot of crawl spaces here, they have molded crawl spaces, and they don't think that the only thing that's wrong is that you can smell a little bit of moisture from time to time. It isn't. That moisture will kill you over time. So if they don't have a
sure.
healthy basement or crawl space, it's not just a matter of they can handle a little water in their basement. One guy was telling me all his furniture is up off the floor by 1 inch. It's assumed that's the way he used to live in New York. And I told him that is not the way you want to live anywhere. If you can smell it, kids and old people, they're sensitive to mold and those moisture issues. They have massive headaches. Um,
Mm,
it makes their allergies just explode. And a lot of people think it's they're sensitive because they're allergies, and it isn't. It's the moisture and the mold that's in that house. And they need to get somebody out to actually take a look at it when they know they have water and they have seen water. They need to check because they'll have mold spores growing in their attic because they don't realize that through the stack effect, which I learned from Great Drain Products, the owner taught us, and it is true that everything that's in that basement is in the attic. You
mm,
got mold in your basement, you have mold in your attic because those gases, that air is forced upward to vent out. It carries that mold, it carries those spores, carry it right up into the attic. And so sometimes you actually have to open up a book and understand what your business is and don't just look in the basement for the issues. You may actually have to go up in the attic and make sure there's no issues that you're going to have to solve there as well. So
mm.
I'm not, I'm not one of those individuals that's prone to not wanting to open a book and learn something new. Uh, we go train every year, different places. And that is what we focus on, learning something new. We're learning about moisture, learning about radon gas, and learning about more than what you knew yesterday, because
Mm,
you need to do it for your customers.
yeah,
So,
that's very true.
so needless to say, I'm having a ball. I'm having fun. You love what you do. You won't work a day in your life. This is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I'll do
Mm,
plumbing in my basement, but I don't want to be a plumber. I don't want to be the electrician. I don't want to be the sheetrock guy. I don't want to be the painter. I don't want to do anything but do basements. I'll let other people do that unless they don't do it right. And then in that case, if it's tied to my project, we will do it, because then I know it's done right.
yeah, you got that ownership, not just owner of a business, but ownership of all that you guys do, from your team to the work to the billing to the everything. It's amazing.
Gotcha. Take responsibility for it. This is not one of those companies that everybody's going to be blaming someone else. We will take 100% responsibility, and we tell that to anybody when we're building their basement. Even if I don't do the walls and I don't do the slab, if we do the waterproofing and drainage, we will warranty that basement not to leak, because we can fix everything else that's wrong with that basement. We can fix it while we're waterproofing and sealing it. So there's a nugget for you.
That is awesome. Well, Willie, do you have any last little bits that you want to share with everyone, and then we'll kind of get your info before we sign off?
Yeah, if a lot of people out there has been looking at our videos in YouTube, and they send me some personal notes in our email, and let me know what they like and what they saw, and I want to let them know if there's something that they need to see or would really like to see. Let us know. Shoot me an email, and then I'll dig into my archives, because I have thousands and thousands of videos. I shoot multiple videos per job, and I'll see about posting
Okay.
it for them. Even if they're a contractor, we hope contractors, you know, they're brothers in arms, as you want to say, and some of them ask for certain things, and just ask. I'm gonna post something anyway, so if there's something that you want to see specifically, shoot us an email and just ask. Hey, can you show us how you put that drain in? Can you show us what type of dehumidifier, or how you do this measurement? You know, ask. We're out there. We'll teach you. We're having fun.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, Willie, how can people reach out to you guys? Phone number, website, anything
Uh,
like that you care to share?
they can, if they have a nightmare scenario that they can't figure out, and they just want to talk to someone, and run by some different ideas, they can call me on my cell, 214-325-4691. I answer the phone. You got an interesting nightmare? Hey, I'd love to hear it. Or if you just, you want to call and find out what we do and how we do it, or have us come out, then you call the office, 972-547-6161, or shoot us an email, 24 hours. Do not be surprised if you send me a message by email at wking@thebasementkings.net, and it's 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and you see a reply at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I may be working, and I
Oh,
will
that's awesome.
respond quickly. I get people doing it. They say they did it because they just knew nobody was going to respond, and they knew we'll get to it. And there I was working, and I answered that message right there while I was sitting there. So no, send it. We'll respond.
Would you say you're a workaholic at all? Or
I
you're just so
am.
passionate? Oh,
I
okay,
you know
okay,
you
okay.
you know what? I just love what I do, and
Right.
I get bored so easily. My father used to work me to death.
Same.
And
Yeah.
and these days, you come out to my job, I will not be the individual with my arms folded. If they're walking out of that
Mm,
basement with buckets of gravel, you will see that I have two buckets just like everybody else. And
mm,
I do all my hard work myself, because with my guys, I teach them where, I'm not going to ask anybody to do something that I won't do myself. So I'm
right.
up late looking over plans, and, you know, outlining issues before my crews go out to the job. and I usually will write up a list of what to look for that may catch them by surprise. So, I just, do what bosses do, you know, make my
Good
guys as
bosses.
prepared as
Caliber.
possible. Oh, okay.
Right. That's awesome.
Well, we got
I
we,
mean, a
we
lot
got
of
to
people
thank
don't,
your
right? They overlook.
we got to thank your most of the some of my customers who haven't looked me up. They think some of my other guys are the owner or the manager, the guys running the site is because I'm not standing around. So sometimes they think it's one of my other guys because I may
Mm.
have my head in it. I may have a jackhammer in my hand because I'm bored, and they just will swear that it's the guy that's on break. No, not so
Mm.
much.
That
Yeah.
is hilarious. Well, Willie, you and I are going to hang out on the line for a minute, but we're going to sign off. Thank you so much for being on this episode.
Oh, no problem. It was fun. I appreciate you giving. And this is the only break that I'm taking for the day, so I guess I ought to thank you for giving me the pause.
Well, yeah, thank you for being on. And guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Foundation Repair Success Secrets. See you guys.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today for another revealing episode of Foundation Repair Success Secrets. Don't forget to subscribe so you can keep discovering the tools, tactics, and techniques to ensure your online presence is as solid as the foundations you repair. Keep digging deep, and we'll see you in the next episode.